March 2019, a McDonald's worker in Detroit named Marcus walks into an Apple store with his tax return. $742, the most money he's seen in months, and buys an iPhone XR for $599, leaving him with $143 for the rest of the month. His landlord is furious. His sister calls him stupid, and every personal finance expert would agree. This is textbook financial irresponsibility, the exact behavior that keeps poor people poor. Except economists who study poverty now say something stunning. Marcus isn't being irrational. He's being brutally logical. The psychology of being broke follows rules the middle class can't see. Because here's what no one tells you about poverty. It doesn't just drain your bank account, it rewires your brain. And the decisions that look insane from the outside are the only moves that make sense from the inside. This is the paradox of poverty spending. Why the broke buy luxury, why scarcity breeds waste, and why being poor in America costs a fortune. Start with the invisible tax no one talks about. Being poor is breathtakingly expensive. A middle-class family buys a $300 vacuum that lasts 10 years. A poor family buys a $40 vacuum that breaks in 2 years. Over a decade, they buy 5 vacuums, spending $200 total. But they're still losing because the cheap ones work worse, waste their time, and force them to rebuy constantly. Now scale that across everything. No bank account? Pay $3 to cash every paycheck. No credit? Pay triple for car insurance. Can't afford bulk? Pay twice as much per unit at the corner store. No car? A 2017 study found low-income Americans pay $4,800 more per year than middle-class families for the same basic goods and services. That's 2 full months of minimum wage salary just evaporating into the poverty premium. And then there's the predatory infrastructure designed to extract wealth from the broke. Overdraft fees. $35 for a $2 coffee when you miscalculate your balance. Payday loans charging 400% annual interest. Rent-to-own furniture stores where a $500 couch costs $2,000 after payments. Title loans that take your car if you miss one payment. So when economists ask why poor people don't save, here's the answer. Because there's nothing left to save. After rent, food, utilities, and the poverty tax, the average low-income family has $319 in discretionary income per month. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about money, it's about bandwidth. Princeton psychologist Eldar Shafir proved that poverty literally reduces cognitive capacity. When you're worried about rent, your effective IQ drops 13 points. That's equivalent to losing a full night's sleep every single day. Shafir calls it the scarcity mindset. When you don't have enough of something, your brain tunnels. It focuses so hard on the immediate crisis that long-term planning becomes neurologically impossible. You're not being short-sighted, you're being hijacked. 67% of Americans living below the poverty line own a smartphone. Poor households spend 9% of income on status goods versus 3% for wealthy. A minimum wage worker needs 120 hours to afford a new iPhone. In one experiment, Shafir presented low-income and wealthy participants with a hypothetical car repair costing $1,500. The poor participants performed significantly worse on subsequent logic tests. Just thinking about the expense consumed their cognitive resources. Wealthy participants showed no decline because $1,500 wasn't an existential threat. For them, it was an annoyance. For the poor, it was a disaster that hijacked their entire mental operating system. This is why poverty perpetuates itself. Not because poor people are bad with money, but because poverty itself makes everyone bad with money. Scarcity eats willpower. It eats planning. It eats the ability to delay gratification. So now imagine you're Marcus. You work 35 hours a week at McDonald's, making $9, $50 an hour, but they keep you part-time so they don't owe benefits. Your monthly take-home is $1,140. Rent is $680 for a studio in a rough neighborhood. Food, utilities, phone, and bus pass take another $380. You're left with $80 for emergencies, clothing, toiletries, everything else. One month your bus pass gets stolen. Another month your shoes fall apart, a traffic ticket, a coworker's birthday. Every tiny shock sets you back weeks, and you're living in a state of permanent, low-grade crisis. Your phone is a cracked iPhone 6 you bought used for $120 2 years ago. The battery dies at 40%. The screen glitches. Then tax season arrives, and for the first time in a year, you have $742 in your hand. This is the most financial breathing room you've had since Christmas. This is your window. But saving that $742 means something very different when you're poor. For middle-class families, it's a smart choice. Because poverty has a tax that no one talks about. When your bank account hits zero, every financial transaction costs more. You can't afford to fix your car, so you take payday loans at 400% APR. Over 12 months, being poor costs an extra $2,412 just to access the same goods and services everyone else gets cheaper. So when you have that $742 tax refund, saving, it is not a neutral act. It's betting that nothing will go wrong. And in your life, something always goes wrong. Enter the iPhone. This is not just a phone. This is the most stable, reliable piece of technology in your life. It doesn't break after 6 months like the $200 Android. It has resale value. But more than that, and this is the part economists miss, it's proof you're not invisible. Rutgers sociologist Aaliyah Rao studied this. When you're poor, you're treated as less than human in 1,000 tiny ways. Walking into a room with an iPhone, the same phone the lawyer has, the same phone the Instagram influencer has, buys you 30 seconds of being seen as equal, of not being dismissed. Studies show that when low-income individuals acquire a luxury brand item, their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, drop by 31%. Not because they're shallow, but because social exclusion activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Low-income Americans pay $40 billion yearly in overdraft fees alone. Being poor costs an extra $4,800 per year compared to middle-class payday loans charge 400% APR. Bank loans charge 10%. Now add the economics of bad credit. Your credit score is 580 because you missed a $29 phone bill 3 years ago when your kid needed medicine. But Apple offers the iPhone for $50 a month, no credit check, through your carrier. Suddenly, the $1,200 phone is the most accessible form of credit you have. Then there's the work angle. In 2019, Georgetown researchers found that 67% of gig economy jobs require a smartphone to accept work. Uber, DoorDash, TaskRabbit, Instacart. A flip phone doesn't cut it. The iPhone is not consumption. And the cheap Android that breaks every year? That's the real waste. You spend $200 now, $200 again in 14 months, $200 again the year after. Over 4 years, that's $800 on phones that never work right. This is the Sam Vimes boots theory from Terry Pratchett. The rich man buys $100 boots that last 10 years. The poor man buys $20 boots that last 1 year. But here's where it gets darker. Psychologist Senthil Mullainathan showed that scarcity doesn't just limit your resources, it limits your cognitive bandwidth. It's like running high-level software on a computer that's already maxed out. Every decision costs mental energy you don't have. Meanwhile, the rich save by having money work for them. A $10,000 investment at 7% becomes $20,000 in a decade without lifting a finger. But when you're living on $19,000 a year, there is no $10,000 to invest. So when someone asks, why do poor people buy iPhones instead of saving? They're asking the wrong question. The iPhone is a symptom, not the disease. The disease is a system where a single mother working 50 hours a week still can't afford rent, where one medical bill destroys a decade of savings. And the cruelest part? We've designed a culture that idolizes spending. Luxury cars in rap videos, influencers with designer bags, billionaires with yachts, but only punishes the poor for wanting the same symbols of success. What if instead of asking why poor people buy iPhones, we asked why we've built an economy that pays full-time workers so little they have to choose between an iPhone and an emergency fund? Because the truth is, poverty isn't about bad choices. It's about no good choices. It's about a tax refund that's either spent now on something useful or lost next month to an unexpected bill. The woman walking out of the Apple store with that iPhone isn't irrational. She's not foolish. She's not proving some conservative stereotype. Next time you see someone poor with an iPhone and feel that judgment rising, ask yourself what you'd do if every door was locked, every system was rigged, and the only thing you could afford was one symbol that said, "I matter too."